Clint Walker, and you're watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Clint. I'm Randy Hansen. In today's World News headlines, campaigns buying personal data to influence votes. And Obama and Romney prepared for second presidential debate. And HRW says Syrian regime dropping cluster bombs on civilians. And UK to begin Afghan withdrawal in 2013. And a study shows U.S. bombings causing staggering increases in Iraqi birth defects and miscarriages. And torture in U.S. custody to be raised at Gitmo hearing 9/11 suspects. And Pakistani teenager activist flown to UK for medical treatment. And Philippines rebels sign a preliminary accord for peace talks. And Colombian peace talks kick off in Norway. And 10 arrested in Bahrain, protest crackdown. And global noise and anti-austerity protests were held worldwide. And Obama campaign office targeted in Denver. And former Senator Arlen Specter dies at 82. GVTV News would like to say the views expressed on our news broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views of nctv Digital Media Center. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's first world news story, new details have been revealed of the efforts by Democrats and Republicans to mine American voters' personal data to influence the outcome of next month's election. New York Times reports the Obama and Romney campaigns are purchasing an unprecedented amount of personal information from private companies, using it to encourage and convince targeted voters to head to the polls. Information collected includes everything from religious ties, interest in pornographic sites, product preferences, financial status, social media affiliations, and whether a voter has gay friends. That information is then used to shape the approach of unsolicited phone calls from campaign staffers to voters based on how they have been analyzed. Some voters will even be pushed to vote by being publicly shamed when the campaign publicly divulges how frequently they and their neighbors have previously voted, in the hopes that public disclosure will spur them to action. With just over 3 weeks until the election, President Obama and Republican challenger Mitt Romney will hold their second debate on Tuesday, that was last night, at New York's Hofstra University. On Friday, Romney and vice presidential nominee Paul Ryan addressed supporters in Ohio just hours after Ryan squared off against Vice President Joe Biden. Mitt Romney said, "When it comes to jobs, both last night with Vice President Biden and my debate with President Obama, they didn't have a plan for creating jobs for middle-income Americans. They say they care for middle-income Americans, and I believe they care. I just don't know what to do. They just don't know what to do, and they say, well, they're going to have another stimulus. How did the last one work out? You know?" And Paul Ryan said, "What we are witnessing when we turn our TVs on a daily basis is the unraveling of the Obama foreign policy, and then we say it's okay to impose these devastating cuts in our military. We don't need any more Lima-built M1 tanks. What we are doing is projecting weakness, and when we project weakness abroad, our enemies become more brazen. Our enemies are attempting to test us. Our allies are less willing to trust us." Meanwhile, Vice President Biden addressed supporters in Wisconsin where he said differences between the two campaigns are stark as any in his lifetime. He said, "Anyone who watched that debate, I don't think there's any doubt that Congressman Ryan and I, Governor Romney and the President, we have fundamentally different visions for America, and quite frankly, a fundamentally different value set. Fact is that the difference that we are about the future of this country are quite frankly profound. They're as profound as any differences in any presidential campaign that I have observed and I've been involved in." The Syrian government is being accused of continuing to drop cluster bombs on civilian areas in recent attacks on rebel strongholds. In a new report, Human Rights Watch says the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has used military planes and helicopters to drop cluster munitions, furthering endangering civilians with unexploded bomblets left on the ground. Human Rights Watch UN Director Philip Bolopian condemned the bombings and said, "If we need any further proof of the Syrian government's complete disregard for the lives of its own citizens and its own children, well, here it is, because we know that the government is using cluster munitions in populated areas. And of course, these weapons are extremely dangerous for the civilian population and children, because most of the bomblets that are left on the ground do not detonate on impact, and they remain active for weeks, months, and sometimes even years." The British government has announced plans to withdraw thousands of troops from Afghanistan next year. British Defense Secretary Philip Hammond says despite the withdrawals, more than half the British troops in Afghanistan will still remain behind until the U.S. pullout 1 year later in 2014. British Defense Secretary Philip Hammond also said, "I would expect to be significant, which means thousands, not hundreds, but I would not expect it to be majority of our troops out by the end of next year. We will have, by the beginning of 2013, we'll have 9,000 troops there, and by the end of 2014, we'll have virtually none. And I would expect there will be a significant step at the end of 2013. A new study has provided further evidence of the damage of the Iraqi public health caused by the 2003 U.S. invasion and occupation. The Bulletin of Environmental Contamination and Toxicology found staggering increases in Iraqi birth defects and miscarriages in the Iraqi cities of Basra, Fallujah, which both endured heavy U.S. bombing. Iraqi children were found to have elevated levels of mercury and lead and key elements in the manufacture of bullets and bombs. Overall, the study says U.S. bombings have left a footprint of metal in the population, causing a public health crisis. Next March will mark the Iraq War's 10th anniversary. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and 4 suspects, co-conspirators, will appear in the Gitmo Bay military courtroom for a pretrial hearing in their tribunals for plotting the 9/11 attacks. All 5 of the men were once held in a secret CIA prison before being sent to Guantanamo in 2006. Ahead of today's hearing, the military prosecutors and military attorney in the case sparring over the admissibility of the suspects' alleged tortures while in U.S. custody. Mark Martins, the prosecutor, said, "I have said there's no statement under the Military Commissions Act obtained as a result of the torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or coercion is admissible." That's true. That refers to the prosecution's case against an accused. It can't be admitted. This does not imply that there can be no addressing by the Military Commission of the evidence of mistreatment. I've never said that, and that's not what the Military Commission Act reads. Captain Jason Wright, a defense attorney, said, "From a legal perspective, it's unconscionable that somehow the government would maintain that 3.5 years or 4.5 years of someone's life can't be discussed, not just those years where they may not have been doing anything of substance, but those years where our government tortured them." The Pakistani teenager activist shot for advocating girls' education has been flown to Britain to undergo further medical treatment. 14-year-old Malala Yousafzai was on her way home from school last Tuesday when Taliban militants shot her in the head and neck, leaving her critically wounded. The Taliban says she was deliberately targeted for her vocal campaigning against efforts to stop girls from attending school. On Sunday, Pakistani military spokesperson briefed reporters on Malala's treatment and effort to apprehend her attackers. Asim Salim Bajwa said, "We met the team of doctors, and as per them, Malala is still on ventilator and reduced her sedation today in order to carry out a better clinical assessment by the neurosurgeons." That happened. Malala did respond to that, and she did move her 4 limbs, which is positive development that way. There have been apprehensions, there is investigation which are going on, and everyone's concerned is trying to pursue and get a hold of the gang which was involved in doing this. Philippine government has signed a preliminary peace deal with the country's largest Muslim rebel group, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. The pact lays the groundwork for negotiations to resolve the conflict by 2016. Steps would include establishment of an autonomous Muslim region in the southern area of the island of Mindanao. And talks begin in Norway between Colombian government and Colombia's largest rebel group, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC. Ahead of the negotiations, Christian Berg of Norway Peace Research Institute in Oslo said addressing economic inequality and establishing lasting trust will be pivotal to a successful agreement. The challenges in Colombia are certainly running very deep. Trust is in itself a key problem given the last negotiations, and the ceasefire concluded in the context of those negotiations are basically misused by the government to clamp down on some of its adversaries. Also, the economic inequality of Colombia is of massive dimensions, and one critical issue in the negotiation will be the ability to really look at economic redistribution. Talks are due to move on to Cuba after concluding in Norway. And 10 people were arrested in Bahrain on Friday when government forces disrupted a pro-democracy protest. Police fired tear gas and stun grenades at a crowd of hundreds of demonstrators marching against the U.S.-backed Sunni monarchy. It was the latest in a series of protests against the Bahraini regime. Bahrain is a key U.S. government ally hosting the Navy's 5th Fleet. And rallies were held in dozens of cities on Saturday under the banner of Global Noise, a worldwide day of protest against austerity and inequality. Organizers called the demonstrators to create a global casserole march inspired by protests featuring the banging of pots and pans by indigenous natos in Spain and Red Square student movement in Quebec. In Madrid, thousands of people marked Global Noise with march to the headquarters of the European Union just one day after it was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. And police in Denver are investigating the shooting of President Obama's local campaign office on Friday. People were inside the office when a single bullet was fired through the window, but no one was injured. Former Pennsylvania Senator Arlen Specter has died at the age of 82. Specter achieved national prominence in the early 90s during a confirmation hearing of future Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas when he harshly questioned Anita Hill, the law professor who had accused Thomas of sexual harassment. Specter drew criticism after accusing Hill of perjury and helped to push through Thomas's controversial appointment. Longtime Republican Specter made headlines in 2009 when he crossed the aisle to join the Democrats. He retired after losing his seat the following year. And that's it for World News today. Now we'd like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only video news media in Nevada County. You guessed it, it's us. GVTV News.
Soundcheck Music Center, the rock and roll connection. We have guitars, amps, drum equipment, sound accessories, lessons, and repairs. We are located at 671 Maltman Drive, Grass Valley. 530-272-7236, open 7 days a week.
No one needs anyone, they don't even just pretend. John is an American. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't.
That's right, it's time for the police blotter and pictures in the blotter, not from these actual events, but used for visual aid only. These records are released from local law enforcement 911 calls. Grass Valley Police Department on Thursday. 7:53 a.m. a report was taken from South Auburn Street in School Alley of a juvenile jumping from a moving vehicle. At 9:43 a.m. a report was taken from 100 block of Starling Circle of theft of a laptop. At 10:37 a.m. a report was taken from 100 block of Ocean Avenue of theft from an unlocked vehicle. Notice the word unlocked. 12:18 p.m. a woman from 100 block of Glastonbury reported a man took her cell phone. At 12:40 p.m. a report was taken from Pine Creek Shopping Center of finding spoons and syringes. 1:22 p.m. a report was taken 800 block of Sutton Way of theft of a purse from a shopping cart. It was located. At 2:21 p.m. a report was taken from 600 block of Sutton Way of finding a syringe. And 4:36 p.m. a report was taken from DiMartino Park of juveniles engaged in sex and drugs and vandalism. No sex, drugs, or vandalism was located. At 7:16 p.m. a report was taken from 200 block of Sutton Way of a woman banging on doors in a dispute over rent money. At 7:37 p.m. a report was taken from 400 block of Henderson Street of a man been begging for food, then looking in vehicles. He could not be located. At 8:08 p.m. a woman from 200 block of Sutton Way reported theft of a TV and a computer. And 8:52 p.m., a report was taken from 800 block of Forest Glade Circle of a man yelling obscenities who was found to have been reenacting a play. And Friday, at 4:34 a.m., a report was taken from 100 block of Eureka Street of a man and a woman and kids trying to get into a room. At 4:48 a.m., a report was taken from Walsh and Church Streets of two people who stole a sign from a church. At 5:02 a.m., a report was taken from 100 block of Bank Street of a person sleeping in a vehicle, which came back as stolen. He was arrested on suspicion of vehicle theft. Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Thursday, 8:22 a.m. A woman from 11,000 block of Treetop Circle reported a possible residential burglary. In 10:06 a.m., a report was taken from 12,000 block of Rough and Ready Road of identity theft. In 10:10 a.m., a report was taken from 14,000 block of Gold Creek Court of theft of chainsaws. At 11:56 a.m., a report was taken from Dog Bar Road and a man threatening the caller with a knife. No charges were desired. At 1:02 p.m., a report was taken from 12,000 block of Charles Drive of receiving bad check from a business. Business owner agreed to send a cashier's check. At 1:15 p.m., a woman from 17,000 block of Dugan's Road reported a woman tried to come at her with a hammer and then ran away. At 5:16 p.m., a report was taken from Squirrel Creek Road of theft of marijuana plants last night. And Friday, 12:01 a.m., a report was taken from Lowell Hill Road of people crossing the river and drinking and driving, one of whom was extremely intoxicated. And that's it for the blotter today. Now we'd like to thank another one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. Christopher's Old World Deli and Catering Company has brought its delicious food and service downtown Grass Valley. Like desserts? They got 'em. You like international style lunches? They got 'em. Christopher's Deli and Catering for parties, get-togethers, weddings, or whatever. Open 7 days a week. In today's news, local news headlines, high-definition streaming footage of Lake Tahoe and Sierra Nevada, and protect your forest. And Chuck Yeager still flying. In today's first local story, Tahoe enthusiasts will now have access to live high-definition streaming footage of Lake Tahoe and Sierra Nevada peaks thanks to a new partnership between Homewood Mountain Resort, West Shore Cafe and Inn, and Annenberg Foundation's philanthropic media organization, Explore.org. The Lake Tahoe cameras are the latest addition to Explore.org's Pearls of Planet initiative, which aims to help people deepen their connection with nature through a portfolio of live HD cameras installed around the world. In addition to the Lake Tahoe cameras, the Pearls of Planet live cams collection features brown bears hunting salmon in Alaska, giant pandas in China, siku and polar bear in Denmark, beluga whales, and tropical fish from the Vancouver Aquarium in British Columbia, a service puppy cam, and many more. The beauty of the Lake Tahoe's breathtaking landscape is an amazing sight to behold of any time of the year, and now people all over the world can experience it for themselves whenever they like, said Charles Annenberg, Weingarten, founder of Explore.org. This is the point of all Pearls of Planet initiative, to make the world accessible to people everywhere so that they can once again learn to love and care for the planet which they live on. We are thrilled to offer the new web cameras, said Kevin Mitchell, General Manager of Homewood Mountain Resorts. It's a great way for viewers to appreciate Lake Tahoe, one of the world's most cherished mountain lakes, in real time. Streaming cameras location in West Shore Cafe and Inn lends viewers a sense of standing directly on the shore of Lake Tahoe, while the second camera on mountain location in Homewood offer a vantage point from 500 feet above water. Both present an unobstructed view of the country's second deepest alpine lake and surrounding Sierra Nevada peaks in real time. Visit westshorecafe.com or call 525-5200, that's a 530, for more information. Right. California's national forests and grasslands are your lands. We have at stake what happens on them. There are laws that protect the forest biodiversity, scenic views, water, soil, and cultural heritage. If you see an activity that you think is suspicious, we encourage you to report it. Where and when do the forest crimes occur and what crimes are committed? Illegal activities can take place anywhere and at any time, but usually occur late in the evening or on weekends. Theft of timber and other forest products, arson, vandalism of private and government property, damaging Forest Service campsites, roads or trails, and illegal drug manufacturing and sales are just some examples. These are crimes prosecutable under both federal and state laws. What to look for when reporting suspicious activities in national forests and grasslands is to your local law enforcement agency or the Forest Service office. ATVs operating off an established roads or trails, suspicious activities in the woods such as forest products being loaded into pickups or vans, especially in the evening or on weekends, rental vans in the forest where they would not normally be, campfires in locations where they should not be, or campfires left unattended, bright lights on hillsides at night, chainsaws running in the middle of the night or on the weekend, dumping of household or commercial trash, anyone damaging a Forest Service recreation site or trail, or deliberately setting a fire. If you think you have witnessed a crime, do not approach the person and do not take a photo of them unless you can do so safely. Instead, observe what they are doing, record it on paper or on your cell phone, messaging or text apping. Do not call 911 unless someone is in danger. Instead, report what you have seen either by phone or email to local law enforcement or to a Forest Service law enforcement officer. When you report a tip providing information such as a description of persons and of their vehicle or boat, any registration or distinguishing logo, car rental identifier, license plate, what they are doing, when, and where. Thank you for your interest and concern for our lands and facility. And out of Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, 65 years after becoming the first human to fly faster than the speed of sound, retired Air Force Brigadier General Chuck Yeager is still making noise. 89-year-old Penn Valley resident who was featured in a movie, The Right Stuff, flew in the back seat Sunday of an F-15 Eagle as it broke the sound barrier at more than 30,000 feet above the California Mojave Desert, the same area where he first achieved the feat in 1947 while flying an experimental rocket plane. F-15 carrying Yeager took off from Nellis Air Force Base near Las Vegas and broke the sound barrier at 10:24 a.m. Sunday, exactly 65 years to the minute. The then Air Force test pilot made history. It also happened in the same day that daredevil skydiver Felix Baumgartner shattered the sound barrier after making the highest jump ever from the balloon 128,100 feet from Earth. Baumgartner hit Mach 1.24 and 833.9 miles per hour according to preliminary data, and becoming the first man to reach supersonic speed without traveling in a jet or a spacecraft. He landed safely in New Mexico desert after a descent of just more than 9 minutes. Yeager told reporters after his flight that he was unaware of the skydiver's feat. Asked by a younger girl if he was scared during Sunday's flight, Yeager joked, "Yeah, I was scared to death." But the legendary pilot said he continues to fly all the time, and it was just another flight to him. Yeager flew the F-15 as it took off and landed, and said Airman Timothy Young, a Nellis spokesman. The plane was piloted by Captain David Vinson of the 65th Aggressor Squadron at Nellis. It was a great honor to have him fly out of Nellis, Young said. "We pride ourselves in training fighter pilots, and to have someone of his caliber here is such an honor." And that's it for our local news today. Now we'd like to thank the Union, Amy Goodman, Reuters, Associated Press, and others for the Source Number News, and you for watching. You can watch this broadcast on Comcast Cable, NCTV, Channel 11 in Nevada County, 8 a.m., 3 p.m., 7:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, Sunlink Channel 16, Truckee and Alta Sierra. We're also on at 10:30 on Saturday morning and 8 p.m. Sunday night. We also are streamed on the internet, NCTV's digital media website, nevadacountytv.org and gvtv.org. And don't forget, Grass Valley Television plays 24/7 on the net. Other stuff besides our news, grassvalleytelevision.com. We post to Facebook, YouTube, blip.tv, and many other podcast sites, and RSS feed and video podcasts on iTunes. Just search under video podcast for GVTV News. We are happy that ncdmc has moved, and it's good that that happened. Grass Valley Television also videotapes local events around Nevada County. If you have a need for video, you can contact us for more information. grassvalleytelevision@gmail.com, 362-8889. This show produced by Grass Valley Television of Rural Counties Television Network. And we hope you will keep tuned to our new season as we are going to spice up the news in the future. Please email us with ideas and comments, as we like to hear from you. And like us on Facebook if you can. We're on there quite a few different times. And you can Google us, GVTV News. We'll get a lot of places. News player can be on your site. You can get fresh news updated daily. And you can embed the code on your site and get it every day.